Argentinian justice has issued an arrest warrant and extradition request for the leader of Nicaragua, Daniel Ortega, and his wife, the Vice President Rosario Murillo.
That's Univision breaking the news. In the 7th year since the 2018 repression in Nicaragua, a court in Argentina cited universal jurisdiction in pushing forward with the trial of the alleged architects of months-long crimes by state and paramilitary forces. A reckoning held in absentia. I'm Roman Gressier, the editor of Faro English.
And I'm Juliana Ramazzini. We're streaming from Guatemala City. Welcome to the first edition in 2025 of Central America in Minutes. In Nicaragua, the house arrest of Daniel Ortega's brother
relates more to El Salvador and Honduras than to Guatemala. In the case of Guatemala,
they say globalism comes to die at CIPA, but in El Salvador, it's already dead.
Central America in Minutes on El Faro English.
On December 30th, an Argentinian judge signed an international arrest warrant for Daniel Ortega, Rosario Murillo, and a dozen other top officials for crimes against humanity committed during mass anti-government protests in 2018. The accusations of state crimes include over 350 murders, as well as torture and forced disappearance. The case was filed in late 2022 by the prosecution team, pulling from Buenos Aires University and the Argentina-based Inter-American Human Rights Legal Aid Center. Local newspaper La Nación reports that Judge Ariel Lijo noted systematic state repression of dissidents. According to exiled news outlet La Prensa, warrants were also issued for officials including police chiefs Francisco Diaz and Aminta Granera, Deputy Chief Ramon Avellan, Special Operations Commander Justo Pastor, Presidential Advisors Nestor Moncada and Sonia Castro, Public University Rector Ramona Rodriguez, the Director of El Chipote Prison, Luis Perez Olivas, and Supreme Court President Albaluz Ramos. But not even this select group has avoided the regime's most recent purges. In episode 8, we covered Ramos's 2023 removal from the High Court and passport suppression by the dictatorship, after years of towing the Sandinista line. Argentina stipulates universal jurisdiction in its constitution, which has allowed for investigations into Spain's Franco dictatorship and the Rohingya genocide in Myanmar. Courts have also convicted over 1,000 people for crimes committed during the country's dictatorship, as dramatized in the recent film Argentina, 1985. The Nicaraguan regime has plowed ahead with new violations of international law during the judicial process in Argentina, stripping hundreds of Nicaraguans of citizenship. Dani Ramirez Ayerdis, a Nicaraguan lawyer with the prosecution living in Argentina, told El Faro English in 2022, quote, "We have to read this in terms of international relations, and not just immediate results or judicial outcomes." He added, "Just the fact of the process being opened is a step beyond the press releases that Nicaraguans are tired of." Upon news of the warrants, plaintiff lawyer Darío Richarte of Buenos Aires University exclaimed on the social media site X, quote, "A little bit of light amid so much darkness, a little justice for so many victims."
Next, to Guatemala. Last December, after 25 years of discussion, an anti-monopoly code known as the competition law was approved with 110 votes out of 160. President Bernardo Arévalo's party was the main promoter of the law. They achieved consensus with at least one legislator from each of Guatemala's 17 congressionally represented parties. This included corners of the opposition. This was striking because they insist that they are not willing to negotiate with corrupt actors, including some members of the current Congress. Guatemala has some of the most concentrated industries in Latin America, including cement, telecoms, traditional media, chicken, and beer. Until now, Guatemala and Cuba were the only countries in the hemisphere to not have anti-monopoly legislation. But there will be a slow rollout in up to 2 years after the creation of an autonomous superintendency of competition. The new authority will sign off on buyouts and mergers and sanction anti-competitive practices. This institution will intentionally reduce the reliance on existing Guatemalan courts, by working with a new specialized court. Promoters of the law claim it will bring more innovation and market choice, and lower prices. Economist José Luis Moreira, one of the promoters of the law, points to another matter that the law could remedy. He argues that the private sector has always had too much say in political decisions.
Under the current constitution, the traditional organized private sector has had a lot of power, not only from the formal point of view in which they have seats in all these institutions without justification, but also power through the management of economic rhetoric.
While some businesses said they already operate under competition laws in other countries, the Conservative Business Association, CACIF, stated that the law is a government chokehold as it creates more regulations to operate, meaning an increase in prices. For more about the competition law approval debate, read my article, Guatemala's New Anti-Monopoly Law, Bark or Bite, at elfaro.net/en.
Last to Costa Rica. On December 20th, the Inter-American Court of Human Rights issued its heavily anticipated ruling in Beatriz versus El Salvador. The court found the state guilty of obstetric violence for denying an abortion to the woman in 2013, contrary to her doctor's recommendation. It was a high-risk pregnancy involving multiple pre-existing conditions, including Beatriz's diagnosis with lupus. The fetus was anencephalous, or incapable of surviving outside the uterus due to the lack of a brain. According to the justices, the denial of the abortion, quote, submitted her to profound agony, affecting her right to physical safety. The Inter-American Court added, despite Beatriz's situation demanding special state protections, the lack of judicial certainty led to bureaucratization and judicialization of the medical attention she needed, close quote. Beatriz died in 2017 in a traffic accident after facing years of medical challenges following the forced childbirth. Delmi Cortez, her mother, said, I feel grateful for this struggle, which lasted quite a long time, but we have obtained an answer. I am sure that Beatriz, wherever she may be, feels satisfied with the struggle that has taken place. The court ordered El Salvador to adopt guidelines for medical and judicial personnel to guarantee non-repetition in cases like that of Beatriz. They wrote that these could be based on existing or new protocols, leaving ambiguity about whether El Salvador should indeed alter its total abortion ban, which does not provide an exception for threats to a mother's life. But they also wrote that, quote, it is not appropriate for the court to arbitrate between different medical opinions. On these grounds, the court declined to rule on whether her death in the accident was related to the denied abortion, or whether the state violated her right to life. The inter-American system has faced intense pressure from anti-abortion lobbyists aligned with the Salvadoran state, who called into question the legitimacy of the court itself. As for Beatriz, the justices appeared to seek a middle ground as they navigate the fraught political waters of the Americas. Thanks for listening to Central American Minutes. Juliana Ramazzini and I wrote today's episode, with production and original soundtrack by Omnion. Go to our website and subscribe to our newsletter at elfaro.net/en for more journalism that translates Central America. Feliz año!